everybody.
Come in.
Let's get started. Come on, we're starting. All right. We're missing a lot of people. Since the coronavirus or? Okay. So listen, what we've been doing is, we've been talking a lot about believing. It's important. You know, what we do here in this, in these workshops is we, of course, there's people that work in the steps on other things than alcohol and drugs, which is what we're supposed to do anyway, right? Yeah, this helps you understand how to do that, and it also, you have to do it, you have to do this work yourself so you can understand. The main purpose of this is so we can teach other people how to do this. And that's the main thing, and we talked a little bit about it last week, that it's difficult for people to come in here and been running and gunning all their life, and now we're asking them to believe in a power greater than themselves, and that's difficult. So it's our job to help them find the solution. Right? And that's what we've been talking about, learning how to come to believe. And when we have a connection with a higher power, we get to understand our worth. That's what I put on the board here this week. I put, when you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving people discounts. Right? I like that. That's a good one. So it's so that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. So what I have here, I have a $100 bill. It's not a brand new crisp $100 bill. It's kind of an old one. Doesn't have all that fancy strips and stuff in there, but it's a $100 bill nonetheless. Who would like this $100 bill? Raise your hand if you'd like this $100 bill. Everybody has their hand. Okay. So what about if I just do this here? Just wrinkle it up and squish it all up.
Susan.
Hey, Susan. Hello. So, how about now? It's all wrinkled and stuff. Who would like this? Okay. So how about if I just take it and throw it on the floor, stomp on it, and push it into the ground, and pick it back up, and now I have this $100 bill. So who would like this $100 bill? So all of you have raised your hand each time. Why? Because no matter how old the bill is, no matter how beat up it is, no matter how much it's been stepped on and squished, it still has the value of $100. The value is there. It's been kind of degraded and kind of abused, but the value is still there. Just like you and I. We've been beat up, we've been stepped on, we've been kicked, we've been wrinkled up and discarded, and we're getting old, and we come in here and we don't know our own worth. And because we don't know our own worth, it's difficult for us to believe that there's a power greater than ourselves that could help us. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's a good analogy, right? So what we're going to do tonight is something a little bit different. This is something that I do every year at Christmas, and Kelly and Deb's group, and Scott's group, and every Christmas, at Christmas night, I've been reading this thing for probably about 25 years. And so what I want you to do tonight, it's from a book. I'll tell you what the book is, but it's a message from God. And I don't know if you knew that, but you know, God's from the Bronx. I don't know if you knew that. So it'd be appropriate for me to today. I'm gonna play God today. Be careful with that. Every once in a while, it's okay. Okay. So because God is from the Bronx and I'm from the Bronx, I think it'd be appropriate that I read and play God tonight for you. So what I want you to do is I want you to put everything away. You don't need to write on anything. Just sit down. I just want you to relax. And this is from a book called The Greatest Miracle in the World. And it's been around a long time. And there's a chapter in the book called the God Memorandum. And what the God Memorandum is God was trying to figure out how the best way to get a message to us. And so he wrote a memorandum for us. And so what I want you to do is I just want you to relax and listen to the message from God, and then we'll go on with the rest of the thing tonight after we're done with this. So again, this is to you from God. I hear your cry. It passes through the darkness, filters through the clouds, mingles with starlight, and finds its way to my heart on the path of a sunbeam. I have anguished over the cry of a hare choked in the noose of a snare, a sparrow tumbled from the nest of its mother, a child thrashing hopelessly in a pond, and a son shedding his blood on a cross. Know that I hear you also. Be at peace, be calm. I bring thee relief for your sorrow, for I know its cause and its cure. You weep for all your childhood dreams that have vanished with the years. You weep for all your self-esteem that has been corrupted by failure. You weep for all your potential that has been bartered for security. You weep for all your individuality that has been trampled by mobs. You weep for all your talent that has been wasted through misuse. You look upon yourself with disgrace and you turn in terror from the image you see in the pool. Who is this mockery of humanity staring back at you with bloodless eyes of shame? Where is the grace of your manner, the beauty of your figure, the quickness of your movement, the clarity of your mind, the brilliance of your tongue? Who stole your goods? Is the thief's identity known to you as it is to me? Once you placed your head in a pillow of grass in your father's field and looked up at a cathedral of clouds and knew that all the gold in Babylon would be yours in time. Once you read from many books and wrote on many tablets, convinced beyond any doubt that all the wisdom of Solomon would be equal and surpassed by you. And the seasons would flow into years until, lo, you would reign supreme in your own Garden of Eden. Dost thou remember who implanted those plans and dreams and seeds of hope within you? You cannot. You have no memory of that moment when first you emerged from your mother's womb and I placed my hand on your soft brow, and in the secret I whispered in your small ear when I bestowed my blessings upon you. Remember our secret? You cannot. The passing years have destroyed your recollection, for they have filled your mind with fear and doubt and anxiety and remorse and hate, and there is no room for joyful memories where these beasts habitat. Weep no more. I am with you, and this moment is the dividing line of your life. All that has gone before you is like unto no more than that time you slept within your mother's womb. What is past is dead. Let the dead bury the dead. This day you return from the living dead. This day, like unto Elijah with the widow's son, I stretch myself upon thee 3 times, and you live again. This day, like unto Elijah with the Shemanite's son, I put my mouth upon your mouth, my eyes upon your eyes, and my hands upon your hands, and your flesh is warm again. This day, like unto Jesus at the tomb of Lazarus, I command you to come forth, and you will walk from your cave of doom to begin a new life. This is your birthday. This is your new date of birth. Your first life, like unto a play of the theater, was only a rehearsal. This time the curtain is up. This time the world watches and waits to applaud. This time you will not fail. Light your candles, share your cake. You have been reborn. Like a butterfly from its chrysalis you will fly as high as you wish, and neither the wasp nor the dragonflies nor manatees of mankind shall obstruct your mission or your search for the true riches of life. Feel my hand upon thy head. Attend to my wisdom. Let me share with you again the secret you heard at your birth and forgot. You are the greatest miracle. You are the greatest miracle in the world. Those were the words you first heard. Then you cried. They all cry. You did not believe me then, and nothing has happened in intervening years to correct your disbelief. For how could you be a miracle when you consider yourself a failure at the most menial of tasks? How can you be a miracle when you have little confidence in dealing with the most trivial of responsibilities? How can you be a miracle when you are shackled by debt and lie awake in the torment of whence will come tomorrow's bread? Enough. The milk that is spilled is sour. Yet how many prophets, how many wise men, how many poets, how many artists, how many composers, how many scientists, how many philosophers and messengers have I sent with word of your divinity, your potential for godliness, and the secrets of achievement? How did you treat them? Still I love you, and I am with you now through these words to fulfill the prophet who announced that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. I have set my hand again. This is the second time. You are my remnant. It is of no avail to ask, haven't you known? Haven't you heard? Hasn't it been told you from the beginning? Haven't you understood from the foundations of the earth? You have not known. You have not heard. You have not understood. You have been told that you are a divinity in disguise, a God playing a fool. You have been told that you are a special piece of work, noble in reason, infinite in faculties, expressed and admirable in form, and moving like an angel in action, like a God in apprehension. You have been told that you are the salt of the earth. You were given the secrets even of moving mountains, of performing the impossible. You believed no one. You burned your map to happiness, and you abandoned your claim to peace of mind. You snuffed out the candles that had been placed along your destined path of glory, and then you stumbled, lost and frightened, in the darkness of fertility and self-pity, until you fell into the hell of your own creation. Then you cried and beat your breast and cursed the luck that had befallen you. You refused to accept the consequences of your own petty thoughts and lazy deeds, and you searched for a scapegoat on which to blame your failure. How quickly you found one. You blamed me. You cried that your handicaps, your mediocrity, your lack of opportunity, your failures were the will of God. You were wrong. Let us take inventory. Let us first call a roll of your handicaps. For how can I ask you to build a new life, least you have the tools? Are you blind? Does the sun rise and fall without your witness? No. You can see. And the 100 million receptors I have placed in your eyes enable you to enjoy the magic of a leaf, a snowflake, a pond, an eagle, a child, a cloud, a star, a rose, a rainbow, and the look of love. Count one blessing. Are you deaf? Can a baby laugh or cry without your attention? No. You can hear. And the 24,000 fibers I have built in each of your ears vibrate to the wind in the trees, the tides on the rocks, the majesty of an opera, a robin's plea, children at play, and the words, I love you. Count another blessing. Are you mute? Do your lips move and bring forth only spittle? No. You can speak, as can no other of my creatures. And your words can calm the angry, uplift the despondent, goad the quitter, cheer the unhappy, warm the lonely, praise the worthy, encourage the defeated, teach the ignorant, and say, I love you. Count another blessing. Are you paralyzed? Does your helpless form despoil the land? No. You can move. You are not a tree condemned to a small plot while the wind in the world abuses you. You can stretch and run and dance and work. From within you I have designed 500 muscles, 200 bones, and 7 miles of nerve fiber, all synchronized by me to do your bidding. Count another blessing. Are you unloved and unloving? Does loneliness engulf you night and day? No, no more. For now you know love's secret, that to receive love it must be given with no thought of its return. To love for fulfillment, satisfaction, or pride is no love. Love is a gift on which no return is demanded. Now you know that to love unselfishly is its own reward. And even should love not be returned to, it is not lost. For love not reciprocated will flow back to you and soften and purify your heart. Count another blessing. Count twice. Is your heart stricken? Does it leak and strain to maintain your life? No. Your heart is strong. Touch your chest and feel its rhythm, pulsating hour after hour, day and night. 36 million beats each year, year after year, asleep or awake, pumping your blood through more than 60,000 miles of veins, arteries, and tubing, pumping more than 600,000 gallons each year. Man has never created such a machine. Count another blessing. Are you diseased of skin? Do people turn in horror when you approach? No. Your skin is clear and a marvel of creation, needing only that you tend it with soap and oil and brush and care. In time, all steels will tarnish and rust, but not your skin. Eventually, the strongest of metals will wear with use, but not that layer that I have constructed around you. Constantly, it renews itself, old cells replaced by new, just as the old you is now replaced by the new. Count another blessing. Are your lungs befouled? Does the breath of life struggle to enter your body? No. Your portholes to life support you even in the vilest of environments of your own making, and they labor always to filter life-giving oxygen through 600 million pockets of folded flesh while they rid your body of gaseous waste. Count another blessing. Is your blood poisoned? Is it diluted with water and pus? No. Within your 5 quarts of blood are 22 trillion blood cells, and within each cell are millions of molecules, and within each molecule is an atom oscillating at more than 10 million times each second. Each second, 10 million of your blood cells die to be replaced by 2 million more in a resurrection that has continued since your first birth. As it has always been inside, so now is on your outside. Count another blessing. Are you feeble of mind? Can you no longer think for yourself? No. Your brain is the most complex structure in the universe. I know. Within its 3 pounds are 13 billion nerve cells, more than 3 times as many cells as there are people on your earth. To help you file away every perception, every sound, every taste, every smell, every action that you have experienced since the day of your birth, I have implanted within your cells more than 1,000 billion protein molecules. Every incident in your life is there waiting only your recall. And to assist your brain in the control of your body, I have dispersed throughout your form 4 million pain-sensitive structures, 500,000 touch detectors, and more than 200,000 temperature detectors. No nation's gold is better protected than you. None of your ancient wonders are greater than you. You are my finest creation. Within you is enough energy, atomic energy, to destroy any of the world's great cities and rebuild it. Are you poor? Is there no gold or silver in your purse? No, you are rich. Together we have just counted your wealth. Study the list. Count them again. Tally your assets. Why have you betrayed yourself? Why have you cried that all the blessings of humanity were removed from you? Why did you deceive yourself that you were powerless to change your life? Are you without talent, senses, abilities, pleasures, instincts, sensations, and pride? Are you without hope? Why did you cringe in the shadows, a giant defeated, awaiting only sympathetic transport into the welcome void and dampness of hell? You have so much. Your blessings overflow your cup, and you have been unmindful of them, like a child spoiled in luxury, since I have bestowed them upon you with generosity and regularity. Answer me. Answer yourself. What rich man, old and sick, feeble and helpless, would not exchange all the gold in his vault for the blessings you have treated so lightly? Know then, the first secret to happiness and success, that you possess even now every blessing necessary to achieve great glory. They are your treasure, your tools with which to build, starting today, the foundation for a new and better life. Therefore, I say unto you, count your blessings and know that you already are my greatest creation. This is the first law you must obey in order to perform the greatest miracle in the world, the return of your humanity. We got knocked off here, sorry. We're back. The return of your humanity from living death. And be grateful for your lessons learned in poverty. For he is not poor who has little, only he that desires much. And true security lies not in the things one has, but in the things one can do without. Where are the handicaps that produced your failure? They existed only in your mind. Count your blessings. I'm sorry here, I'm knocked off again. Okay. And the second law is like unto the first. Proclaim your rarity. You had condemned yourself to a potter's field, and there you lay, unable to forgive your own failures, destroying yourself with self-hate, self-incrimination, and revulsion at your crimes against yourself and others. Are you not perplexed? Do you not wonder why I am able to forgive your failures, your transgressions, your pitiful demeanor, when you cannot forgive yourself? I address you now for 3 reasons. You need me. You are not one of a herd heading for destruction in a gray mass of mediocrity. And you are a great rarity. Consider a painting by Rembrandt, or a bronze by Degas, or a violin by Stradivarius, or a play by Shakespeare. They have great value for 2 reasons. Their creators were masters, and they are few in number. Yet, there are more than one of each of these. On that reasoning alone, you are the most valuable treasure on the face of earth, for you know who created you, and there is only one of you. Never, in all the 70 billion humans who have walked this planet since the beginning of time, has there been anyone exactly like you. Never, until the end of time, will there be another such as you. You have shown no knowledge or appreciation of your uniqueness, yet you are the rarest thing in the world. From your Father, in his moment of supreme love, flowed countless seas of love, more than 400 million in number. All of them, as they swam within your mother, gave up the ghost and died. All except one, you. You alone persevered within the love and warmth of your mother's body, searching for your other half, a single cell from your mother so small that more than 2 million would be necessary to fill an acorn shell. Yet, despite impossible odds in that vast ocean of darkness and disaster, you persevered, found that cell, joined with it, and began a new life, your life. You arrived, bringing with you, as does every child, the message that I was not yet discouraged of man. 2 cells now united in a miracle. 2 cells, each containing 23 chromosomes, and within each chromosome hundreds of genes which would govern every characteristic about you, from the color of your eyes to the charm of your manner to the size of your brain. With all the combinations at my command, beginning with that single sperm from your father's 400 million, through the hundreds of genes in each of the chromosomes from your mother and father, I could have created 300,000 billion humans, each different from the other. But who did I bring forth? You, one of a kind, rarest of the rare, a priceless treasure possessed of qualities in mind and speech and movement and appearance and actions as no other who has ever lived, lives, or shall live. Why have you valued yourself in pennies when you're worth a king's ransom? Why did you listen to those who demeaned you? And far worse, why did you believe them? Take counsel. No longer hide your rarity in the dark. Bring it forth. Show the world. Strive not to walk as your brother walks, nor talk as your leader talks, nor labor as do the mediocre. Never do as another. Never imitate. For how do you know that you may not imitate evil? And he who imitates evil always goes beyond the example set, while he who imitates what is good always falls short. Imitate no one. Be yourself. Show your rarity to the world, and they will shower you with gold. This then is the second law. Proclaim your rarity. You now have received 2 laws. Count your blessings. Proclaim your rarity. You have no handicaps. You are not mediocre. You nod. You force a smile. You admit your self-deception. What of your next complaint? Opportunity never seeks thee? Take counsel, and it shall come to pass. For now I give you the law of success in every venture. Many centuries ago, this law was given to your forefathers from a mountaintop. Some heeded the law, and lo, their life was filled with the fruit of happiness, accomplishment, gold, and peace of mind. Most listened not, for they sought magic means, devious routes, or waited for the devil called luck to deliver them to the riches of life. They waited in vain, just as you waited, and then they wept, as you wept, blaming their lack of fortune on my will. The law is simple. Young or old, pauper or king, white or black, male or female, all can use the secret to their advantage. For of all the rules and speeches and scriptures of success and how to attain it, only one method has never failed. Whomsoever shall compel ye to go with him 1 mile, go with him 2. This then is the 3rd law, the secret that will produce riches and acclaim beyond your dreams. Go another mile. The only certain means of success is to render more and better service than is expected of you, no matter what your task may be. This is a habit followed by all successful people since the beginning of time. Therefore, I say the surest way to doom yourself to mediocrity is to perform only the work for which you are paid. Think not ye are being cheated if you deliver more than the silver you receive, for there is a pendulum to all life, and the sweat you deliver, if not rewarded today, will swing back tomorrow tenfold. The mediocre never goes another mile, for why should he cheat himself, he thinks. But you are not mediocre. To go another mile is a privilege you must appropriate by your own initiative. You must not avoid it. Neglect it. Do only as little as the others, and the responsibility for your failure is yours alone. You can no more render service without receiving just compensation than you can withholding the rendering of it without suffering the loss of reward. Cause and effect, means and ends, seed and fruit, these cannot be separated. The effect already blooms in the cause, the end pre-exists in the means, and the fruit is always in the seed. Go another mile. Concern yourself not should you serve an ungrateful master. Serve him more. And instead of him, let it be me who is in your debt. For then you know that every minute, every stroke of extra service will be repaid. And worry not should your reward not come soon. For the longer payment is withheld, the better for you. And compound interest on compound interest is this law's greatest benefit. You cannot command success, you can only deserve it. And now you know the great secret necessary in order to merit its rare reward. Go another mile. Where is the field whence you cried there was no opportunity? Look around thee. See where only yesterday you wallowed on the refuse of self-pity? You now walk tall on the carpet of gold. Nothing has changed except you, but you are everything. You are my greatest miracle. You are the greatest miracle in the world. And now the laws of happiness and success are three. Count your blessings, proclaim your rarity, go another mile. Be patient with your progress, to count your blessings with gratitude, to proclaim your rarity with pride, to go another mile and then another. These acts are not accomplished in the blinking of an eye. Yet, that which you acquire with most difficulty you retain the longest. As those who have earned a fortune are more careful of it than those by whom it was inherited. And fear not as you enter your new life. Every noble acquisition is attended with its risk. He who fears to encounter the one must not expect to obtain the other. Now you know you are a miracle, and there is no fear in a miracle. Be proud. You are not the momentary whim of a careless creator experimenting in the laboratory of life. You are not a slave of forces that you cannot comprehend. You are a free manifestation of no force but mine, of no love but mine. You were made with a purpose. Feel my hand, hear my words. You need me, and I need you. We have a world to rebuild, and if it requireth a miracle, what is that to us? We are both miracles, and now we have each other. Never have I lost faith in you since that day when I first spun you from a giant wave and tossed you helplessly on the sand. As you measure time, that was more than 500 million years ago. There were many models, many shapes, many sizes before I reached perfection in you more than 30,000 years ago. I made no further effort to improve on you in all these years. For how could one improve on a miracle? You were a marvel to behold, and I was pleased. I gave you this world and dominion over it. Then, to enable you to reach your full potential, I placed my hand upon you once more and endowed you with powers unknown to any other creature in the universe, even unto this day. I gave you the power to think. I gave you the power to love. I gave you the power to will. I gave you the power to laugh. I gave you the power to imagine. I gave you the power to create. I gave you the power to plan. I gave you the power to speak. I gave you the power to pray. My pride in you knew no bounds. You were my ultimate creation, my greatest miracle, a complete living being, one who can adjust to any climate, any hardship, any challenge, one who can manage his own destiny without any interference from me, one who can translate a sensation or perception not by instinct, but by thought and deliberation into whatever action is best for himself and all humanity. Thus we come to the fourth law of success and happiness. For I gave you one more power, a power so great that not even my angels possess it. I gave you the power to choose. With this gift I place you even above my angels, for angels are not free to choose sin. I gave you complete control over your destiny. I told you to determine for yourself your own nature in accordance with your own free will. Neither heavenly nor earthly in nature, you were free to fashion yourself in whatever form you preferred. You had the power to choose to degenerate into the lowest forms of life, but you also had the power, out of your soul's judgment, to be reborn into the higher forms, which are divine. I never withdrew your great power, the power to choose. What have you done with this tremendous force? Look at yourself. Think of the choices you have made in your life and recall now those bitter moments when you would fall to your knees if only you had the opportunity to choose again. What is past, and now you know the fourth great law of happiness and success. Use wisely your power of choice. Choose to love rather than hate. Choose to laugh rather than cry. Choose to create rather than destroy. Choose to persevere rather than quit. Choose to praise rather than gossip. Choose to heal rather than wound. Choose to give rather than steal. Choose to act rather than procrastinate. Choose to grow rather than rot. Choose to pray rather than curse. Choose to live rather than die. Now you know that your misfortunes were not my will, for all power was vested in you, and the accumulation of deeds and thoughts which placed you under the views of humanity were your doing, not mine. My gifts of power were too large for your small nature. Now you have grown tall and wise, and the fruits of the land will be yours. You are more than a human being. You are a human becoming. You are capable of great wonders. Your potential is unlimited. Who else among my creatures has mastered fire? Who else among my creatures has conquered gravity, has pierced the heavens, has conquered disease and pestilence and drought? Never demean yourself again. Never settle for the crumbs of life. Never hide your talents from this day hence. Remember the child who says, when I am a big boy. But what is that? For the big boy says, when I grow up. And then grown up he says, when I am wed. But what is that to be wed, after all? Then the thought changes to when I retire. And then retirement comes and he looks back over the land traversed. A cold wind sweeps over it, and somehow he has missed it all and it's gone. Enjoy this day today, and tomorrow. You have performed the greatest miracle in the world. You have returned from a living death. You will feel self-pity no more, and each new day will be a challenge and a joy. You have been born again, but just as before, you can choose failure and despair or success and happiness. The choice is yours. The choice is exclusively yours. I can only watch, as before, in pride or sorrow. Remember then the four laws of happiness and success. Count your blessings. Proclaim your rarity. Go another mile. Use wisely your power of choice. And one more to fulfill the other four. Do all things with love. Love for yourself, love for all others, and love for me. Wipe away your tears. Reach out. Grasp my hand and stand straight. Let me cut the grave cloths that have bound you. This day you have been notified. You are the greatest miracle in the world. And that is a message from God. And when I work with new people, I like for them to read that or be somewhere when I'm reading it, because again, we're working with people that have just been through hell. And I shared with you before, for me, I didn't think God never showed up in my life. And I didn't think God cared about me or had anything to do with me. And when I read something like that, and I realize I never knew I had all those things that made up my body. I didn't know what a beautiful creation I really am, and you are. You're a miracle. You're the greatest miracle in the world. And that's a powerful statement from a loving God. And I think that helps people to connect with a higher power. Anybody got any comments on that before we move on?
What was the name of that book?
The name of the book is The Greatest Miracle in the World by Og Mandino. It's only about 100 pages. I read the whole book. It's a really good book. Og Mandino. O-G, and then his last name I think is M-A-N-D-I-N-O. Og Mandino. The greatest miracle in the world.
So the part about, and this has always got me, so if God can forgive you, why can't? It's hard to, I walk with my head high, but I don't completely just, I can reason out why I did some things and stuff, but You know, it's real hard to like really forgive. And I appreciate God forgiving us, you know, but there's things that,
Well, you have a choice. See, that's what he said here. He gives you the power to choose, and you have a choice. You can go on the rest of your life holding back and forgiving yourself, which doesn't allow you to forgive others. Or you can go on forward from this day forth and say, you know what? Can't change the past. Don't want to be that today. You know, you've heard me share before. What we do in recovery is we create the person we'd like to be. And we create the person we'd like to be by first understanding who we don't want to be. And we all have experiences of who we don't want to be. And I never knew that I had a choice to be something different than what I always was. And that's the miracle right there, is realizing that we don't have to be who we always were. We can create something else for ourselves to be. That's what recovery is all about. It's all about change. So whatever you did, you know, one thing I know for sure is nobody in the rooms that has done something that somebody else in the rooms hasn't done.
right,
You're not unique.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So whatever it is that you're holding on to,
It's just hard to go, oh, we,
well, you don't have to go oh and we, but you can say, you know,
I understand.
it is what it is.
Yeah, right.
What
right,
am I today?
Right.
You know.
Right, and I do.
Our book tells us, the big book tells us that we've been reborn. This story I just read from you, this chapter, just told us that we've been reborn. And so, what does that mean to be reborn? It means that I have a new life. And so I don't have to make the mistakes I made before, because I have a new life. I don't want to be that person anymore. And that's kind of what we need to teach these people that we work with that come into recovery that have been buried in shit for the last 20 and 30 years. And they can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, first we help them understand what the problem is, and then we help them understand what the solution is. Well, how can I help them understand that the solution is a higher power when the furthest thing from them is their belief that higher power loves them or has anything to do with them? You know, I believed with all my heart that I was going to hell. I believed with all my heart that I was going to hell. And and for many years before I got sober, I thought, well, I'm going to hell, so I ain't going to try to be good now, to hell with that. But I really believed that I was going to hell. So now, when I got sober, I found out, wait a minute, maybe I'm not going to hell. Maybe I have a chance to redeem myself. Maybe I can be something different today. Maybe I can help some people along the way. You know, maybe I can make a difference in somebody's life, one person's life. You know, and if that's possible, I feel that's redemption. But I can't have that redemption if I'm still doing the old things. You know, it's like when we get to step 9, we'll talk about, you know, we don't want to make amends to people for shit that we're still doing. We want to make sure we stop that kind of behavior before we, you know, make amends for it. And this is the early part. This here is about, what we're talking about today in this part of the program, is helping people to come to believe. You know? And what better way than to hear a beautiful message from God? That I am so special, I am such a miracle, that God put all of these things in me, and it's just phenomenal. That, who the hell knew I had 24,000 things in my ear? I thought I had wax in my ear, that was it, you know.
Or that God was from the Bronx.
But, you know, and the truth of the matter is, we are special. Man has never created such a machine. You know, and so, you know, if you want to hold on to the past and let that be the ball and chain on you for the rest of your life, you know, you can do that. If you want to be free, and we have a way to be free. It's not here in this step, but it is in this program. It is in these steps. You know, and this step is just about helping people believe in a power greater than themselves. And that's why I like them to read a beautiful message from God like that. Anybody else? I should have warned you, it was a long reading before I read it. All right, well, let's go back to the book then. Keeps kicking you off? Well, he only got kicked off twice. That's what you see. You're not 6,000 miles away, Deb. You're right here in Oklahoma. You should have your butt in the seat over here. And you can get kicked off. This is really for people that are thousands of miles away. All right. I think we're on page 47, right? Is that what we're looking for?
Okay.
All right. Anybody got any questions on what we've covered so far in the book? Last week we did the chair thing.
Oh, yes, we did.
We did the chair thing. John, did you look at YouTube?
Yeah, I did.
Do you believe now?
No. Because I heard you tell him to stand up some, stand up a little. So. Oh, did I give it away?
No, let's do it again.
No tricks. There was no tricks. All right. All right, page 47.
John's my kind of guy.
So here, in this top paragraph, we've already read in here a couple pages back. On page 45, we read where the search for God begins. You remember that? On page 45, we came to the part where the search for God begins. Okay. Now we're on page 47, and this first paragraph, this is the start of spiritual growth. You might want to write that in your book. It says, when therefore we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. And over again, that our literature talks about that. This applies too to other spiritual expressions which you'll find in this book. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. So this is an instruction here, in case you haven't caught that. It's instructing you to ask yourself this question, especially somebody new. It's a question they need to ask themselves. What does this mean? What do these spiritual terms mean to you? At the start, so and this is why we say this is where the start of spiritual growth begins, because you're starting to question yourself about these things, right? At the start, this was all we needed to commence spiritual growth, to effect our first conscious relation with God as we understood Him. Afterward, we found ourselves accepting many things which seemed entirely out of reach. That was growth, but if we wished to grow, we had to begin somewhere. So we used our own conception, however limited it was. Did we do this last week? No? So now this paragraph is the paragraph, I think I misspoke last week when I said I was thinking of this paragraph, when I've had many people over the years want to argue with me about this is the whole step 2, this second paragraph here. And it's not. This is, from here on, is 36 more paragraphs and many more pages in this chapter. If this was all there was to step 2, there wouldn't be anything else in this chapter. And look what it says. It says, this was growth, but if we wish to grow, we had to begin somewhere. So this next paragraph is just to where we're going to begin from. It says, we needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there's a power greater than myself? As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he's on his way. He hasn't gone nowhere. He hasn't gotten anywhere. He's just on his way. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone that a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. So believing is the cornerstone of the foundation of recovery. Does anybody not know what a cornerstone is? If you're building a structure, this is the stone that is going to where they meet the foundation, and it's going to be a very supporting stone. So believing is the cornerstone of the foundation. And so what this is telling me, this paragraph, this is not the essence of step 2. It's the beginning of this. It's do I believe or am I willing to believe? And if you're willing to believe, or if you say you believe, then we emphatically show you that you're on your way. But there's so much more that has to be done in this step. And this was great news for us, for we had assumed we could not make use of spiritual principles unless we had accepted many things on faith which seemed difficult to believe. When people presented us with spiritual approaches, how frequently do we all say, I wish I had what that man has. I'm sure it would work for him if I could only believe as he believes. And so we start doubting ourselves. So it was comforting to learn that we could commence at a simpler level. So what the simpler level is, we're going to begin this spiritual growth from wherever we're at. We don't have to recreate God. We can start from whatever we do believe. Because, see, by accepting our powerlessness in step one, we're accepting that we can't recover alone, that we need help. And that help, the second step says, comes from a power greater than ourselves. The second step is about hope, a higher power, and dealing with reality. In the first step, we get to understand that we got this sense of surrender that we got to come to terms with, that we have feelings of fear and anger and hopelessness, and if we're powerless over our problems, then how could we ever solve it, right? In step two, we're given the solution. Our solution is that we're not hopeless. Far from it. There is hope, but that hope lies outside of ourselves. I don't pretend that I'm ever going to understand God, so I focus on what I can understand, not what I can't understand. I mean, we tend to try to figure out what we don't know. And that's a difficult place to begin with. Here it's telling us to begin from where we're at. So I can begin to focus on God, on what I do know and what I do believe. But if I don't, here's the thing. If I don't question what I think and believe about God, if I don't question that, how am I going to continue on? See, if I don't question that, then what I'm going to focus on is going to focus on the things that I don't know and don't understand or don't believe about God. And that's the wrong approach. Because the book's not telling me to figure that out. It's telling me to start from where I'm at. So I have to look at where I'm at. What is it that I think and believe about God? And from there, we press change and rearrange. And we'll do that at the end of the step. We'll do an exercise that will get us, when we're done, we're going to have a God that we're comfortable with. It's just a little writing exercise, but it works really well. Because I have to be comfortable with God. Because again, I'll repeat this again to you. If I'm not comfortable with God, it would be impossible to do a third step. And that's why so many people don't make it in this program. They just skip right through these first two steps. And they think they've done the third step. And how could you possibly turn your will and your life over to something you're afraid of, or don't understand, or have no clue about? Does that make sense? So I have to have some type of understanding about this God that I say I understand. Right? If I understand God, what is it I understand about God? So I try to focus on what I do know rather than what I don't know. Does that make sense to you? So it says, besides a seeming inability to accept much on faith, we often found ourselves handicapped by our sensitivities and unreasoning prejudice. That's again, the prejudice is my old thoughts, right? Many of us have been so touchy that even casual reference to spiritual things made us bristle with antagonism. This sort of thinking had to be abandoned. Though some of us resisted, we found no great difficulty in casting aside such feelings. So this is another instruction here. These are not just things that we read and we go on. These are things that it's telling us to do. And And that's why there's so much work that has to be done here in the second step. It's telling us to look at these things and cast them aside if they're negative. When we get to the end of this chapter and we do the second step exercise, I'm going to teach you what I call the fake it till you make it prayer. Does anybody know that prayer? Is anybody familiar with that prayer? Fake it till you make it prayer. It's a great prayer. Works really well. Another week or so when we get there, I'll share that prayer with you. And I guarantee you that this fake it till you make it prayer will help you until you get over the hump of to where you need to be. So here it says, now again, this is an important sentence. It says, faced with alcohol destruction, we soon became open-minded on spiritual matters as we had tried to be on other questions. So now, if you're not faced with alcoholic destruction, you probably won't get open-minded on spiritual matters. But if alcohol, I think it's in the 12 and 12 where it talks about John Barleycorn was our worst advocate, right? Alcohol was our worst advocate. I've watched so many people over the years sponsor people and try to get them to understand how bad alcohol and drugs were for them. Listen, I don't waste time. If you come into recovery, I just assume that alcohol has kicked your ass. You know, again, nobody wakes up in the morning, my life is great, I think I'll join AA. For most of us, this is the last house on the block, right, when we get here. So I don't spend any time trying to convince you that alcohol is no good. AA is not anti-alcohol. I have a bar, I serve people booze every day. You know, but it's just not for me. So we're not anti-alcohol. I don't waste time trying to convince you that you shouldn't drink. If people say to me, I want to drink, I go, what are you telling me for? Or, I want some dope. What are you telling me for? I'm not the dope man. Go over there to that street down there, I think they got some stuff for you. And go over there to that bar, they got something for you. And I say, well, how could you say that? You're supposed to help me, no? If you say to me, I want to drink, but I really don't want to drink as much as I want to drink, I need help. That's what we're here for. And that's what I tell people. If you want help, that's what I'm here for. If you want to drink, you're talking to the wrong guy. All right. So here's more instruction. It says, the reader may still ask why he should believe in a power greater than himself. I'm sure many of you have asked that question. And let us take a look at some of them. The practical individual of today is a stickler for facts and results. And he goes on and talks about the theories and electricity and all of that stuff. And I think electricity is a great example of how we, you know, you walk into a room and you hit the switch and you never think to yourself unless you didn't pay your bill, you never think to yourself, is the light going to go on when I hit this switch? It's no thinking at all. You just hit the switch and the light comes on, and it's not a conscious thought, will the light come on, right? But we don't know how that works, yet we rely so much upon it, we believe so much in it, it's such a powerful instinctive thing for us that we don't even question it, right? I mean, unless that's your field, you really have no idea how electricity works. But when we talk about God, you get all upset. You get all defensive. You don't get that way about electricity. Here's, the bottom of this page talks about the prosaic steel girder. What the heck is that? Right? What the second step does is continue in the humbling process that began in step one. And the step introduces us to the idea that we're not God. If there is a God, and it ain't me. That's a humbling thought, right? There is a God, it's not me. The restoration to sanity is about getting out of our fantasies and learning to live life in reality. You get that? The restoration to sanity is about getting out of our fantasies and learning to live life in reality. It means exchanging old beliefs that we hold that aren't true for new ones that are. Fantasy is nice. By nature, I'm a fantasizer. You know, I could build castles in the sky. I've done that all my life. But the fantasy, living in fantasy, leads me to loneliness, really. Because nobody has the same fantasies that I do. Nobody thinks the things that I think. Most people I deal with are more reality-based than I am. They're more grounded than I am. So it's a power greater than ourselves that arranges that restoration. It's not a spouse, a mouse, or a house. Okay? It's a power greater than ourselves that restores us to sanity. So look, go to page 49 then, right? It says, the first paragraph says, instead of regarding ourselves as intelligent agents, spearheads of God's ever-advancing creation, we agnostics and atheists choose to believe that our human intelligence was the last word, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and end of all. Rather vain of us, wasn't it? So here's another instruction. We, who have traveled this dubious path, beg you to lay aside prejudice, even against organized religion. So that's an instruction. If you haven't noticed by now, every page has got instructions here that they're asking us to question ourselves about. We learned that whatever the human frailties of various faiths may be, those faiths have given purpose and direction to millions. People of faith have a logical idea of what life is all about. And there's a sentence that should be in here, and it should say, and we don't. Actually, we used to have no reasonable conception whatever. We used to amuse ourselves by cynically dissecting spiritual beliefs and practices when we might have observed that many spiritually minded persons of all races, colors, and creeds were demonstrating a degree of stability, happiness, and usefulness which we should have sought ourselves. So the immediate application of this second step is to prepare us for the third step. I've said to you over and over again that you can't do the third step unless you have a God that you've started an understanding with and that you're comfortable with. By opening our minds to the possibility of a power greater than ourselves. The second step gives us the hope to counteract that feeling of powerlessness and fear that we experienced at the end of step one. Let's go over to page 50 here. So instead, we looked at human defects of these people and sometimes used their shortcomings. You know what? Let's just leave off on the top of here, page 50. We'll just leave it off here.
Real fast.
Yeah. We've got a couple more weeks of step 2, and then we'll go through that little exercise, and we'll teach you about the fake it till you make it prayer. All right, guys. Yeah, there's a little bucket up here. If you can, throw something in there. The room does cost $20 a night.